Vecna coming into Dead by Daylight is still a strong possibility, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at what it would be like if Vecna made his way into Dead by Daylight. Kings and queens, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing good. In case you've been living under the rock, over the past few weeks, we've had some information claiming that the return of Stranger Things were going to happen in Dead by Daylight. We also saw information that kind of countered this, and we've been pretty much on the fence with everything. Regardless, it shows the hype of the community and how much we truly want a Stranger Things chapter to happen in DBD. So in today's video, we're taking a look at what Vecna would look like coming into Dead by Daylight. Spoilers ahead in case you haven't seen Volume 1 and Volume 2 of Season 4 of Stranger Things. If you guys do enjoy, make sure you leave a like down below and subscribe. We're trying to get to 150,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so make sure you're hitting the sub button down below, and shout out to our Twitch as well. So let's talk about it. Vecna coming into DBD. What would his power look like? What exactly would he be doing in the realm of the entity? And this one is actually answered quite simply. Netflix actually put out a post on the 4th of July, and they showed up all of the different characters that were in Dead by Daylight and what their powers essentially are. They went through the Demogorgon, the Demodog, the Mind Flayer, Tom Bruce Monster, the Mind Flayer in his physical form, the Demobat, and of course Vecna. The one we're focused on mostly here is Vecna and exactly what he's going to do and what type of power is going to affect the survivors. So here are the notes that they have written down for him. We're going to break them down after. It says that Vecna, you have to beware of the 4 chimes. He tortures victims for 6 days before killing them, and he enters the minds of victims and terrorizes them, showing them their worst fears. So that is pretty interesting. And how exactly would all of that work? Well, we can kind of correlate this very similarly to Sadako and the Doctor's power. We know that Sadako, basically in her lore, you have 7 days to live, and then after the 7 days, you end up dying. So a power like that, in a similar fashion with the condemned status effect, could actually work with Vecna, where he has a fear meter. He tortures them and shows them their worst nightmares by entering their minds, so slowly but surely they would have their fear built up. As they have their fear built up, these survivors could probably scream around the map, revealing their locations, and maybe even have some debuffs the more fearful they get, so it'll be a little bit different from Sadako. With Sadako, if you manage to get fully condemned, you are exposed until you take out the tape and place it in another one, and your aura is revealed to the killer. With Vecna, it would be cool if you get more status effects similar to the Doctor, and at the same time, if you don't do a certain action, which they would have to create, something lore-based, then what ends up happening is you probably are gonna die. They can probably make it that the survivors have to hear their favorite music. That is very, very cool to have, because now you can actually showcase what survivors actually listen to and have some audio tape play. It makes a lot of sense. DBD, we've seen audio and music in it before. Think about Dead Dog Saloon with the piano, etc. So that would be quite nice, running around the map trying to play your favorite song to prolong Vecna from actually killing you. The 4 chimes can be used as a toll meter to know every time a survivor has reached a new state of madness or fear, as I'm going to call it, and every time that this happens, they can have more and more debuffs, forcing them to go around the map listening to music, and if they don't, the debuffs will become more significant and more abrasive to the survivors. On top of that, he could actually have a secondary ability as well. We know he has a ton of tentacles, very similar to Slender Man, where they actually grab you. Now, this is very similar to the Death Slinger as well, where he actually shoots, or Nemesis, who actually has a physical tentacle, except Vecna would have a bunch, and you could make them passive, like Pyramid Head chains that just pop up every now and then, try to grab you, or maybe even have it so that his power takes over the entire map, and if you run into certain locations, such as pallets or vaults, then maybe Vecna can leave some tentacles there that forces you to do a slower action, or maybe he has a tentacles attached to him that'll actually grab you and hinder you for a few seconds. Think about it very similar to Freddy's Snare Trap. We want to make it as unique as possible, but we can still give you the rough idea of what it's like by comparing it to other powers. So that would be kind of cool, having either A, things that you can lay around, or maybe even both, near vaults and pallets, and if the survivor runs near them, they get grabbed. Maybe even depending on how far along you are with your 4 chimes, and how fearful you are, it affects you longer. We can also have it where his tentacles passively grab people, very similar to how Pinhead does it if no one reaches the box and opens it. And we kind of seen this in Stranger Things itself when Nancy, Robin, and Steve ran up the house and they all got caught by these tentacles. So it could make a lot of sense, and then it gives you information, etc. It would be a pretty interesting power. Of course, they would have to make it a little bit more unique and fitting so it doesn't feel just like we're playing another killer, and I think that would be really cool, and Vecna honestly fits in perfectly into DBD. We even seen him carrying Max in Volume 2, when he was going to basically kill her, essentially, and it was pretty up to par with what we normally have in DBT. We literally saw her over his shoulder carrying her, so it works perfectly. And of course he can have his 2 Moris, one of them where he places you in a special location. We could have these around the map. Think about Hawkins when we had these big meat piles, essentially. He can place you in a meat pile and slowly but surely put his hand over your face and then suck your soul out, essentially. Or we could have it where, obviously, if you become fully condemned, you just raise into the air and all your bones and everything breaks. You know, that could be something that's pretty cool as well. I would love to see something like that coming into the game. And let's not forget that Vecna actually has some supernatural powers as well, with telekinesis and just moving things and people around. He can easily just stick his hand out, toss you around, and that's an avenue that they can look at, because that's something that we've never really seen in DBD. A killer that may be able to toss you around. Maybe he pushes you into a wall or strays you away from a vault, or maybe even move pallets and move vaults. That would be pretty cool mid-chase, so he can stop some of the amazing loops that are on the maps. It would be quite interesting. Now for the map, if Vecna were to come in with a map, it would make sense that we get the upside down in his layer, essentially. The big red map with a bunch of lightning flying around, very similar to Garden of Joy. Polly made a fantastic theory on that, and we could just run around here. It would be really cool, and obviously it would be so phenomenal if somehow DBD manifested the entity to be an actual thing, and similar to the Mind Flayer, we have them in the air just hovering around. That would be super duper cool. I would love to see something like that, and I think it will work out quite nice. So all in all, a Vecna chapter really does work in Dead by Daylight, and we kind of know exactly what his power could look like, what his Mori would look like, and what a map around him would be based off of, so it makes a lot of sense. If the rumors and leaks are true and we are indeed getting another Stranger Things chapter featuring Vecna, this is likely what we're going to see. Now again, take it with a huge grain of salt because it is not confirmed. In fact, all of the leaked information was removed, so we don't really know what's going on with this. It could have been bait, it could have been fake, it could have been a troll, we don't really know. Nonetheless, I wanted to bring this to you guys because the community is still hyped up about Stranger Things, especially after watching Season 4, Volume 1, and Volume 2, and it just makes us want to have a Stranger Things chapter back into DBT. So if they ever decide to bring it back, that is more than likely what we're going to see, and I think it would be really, really cool. But that is pretty much going to wrap it up for today's video. I hope you guys really did enjoy. If you did, leave a like down below and share with your friends. Do you want to see Stranger Things coming back into DBT? Let me know down below. As always, I'm the King. I tip my crown to you guys, and we'll see you in the fog.